Welcome to the Coliving with PadSplit podcast, where we talk to successful PadSplit investors and have them share their secrets to success, not only in PadSplit, but in other facets of real estate. This podcast will help you expedite your learning to be a successful investor in the co-living space. We are your hosts, Ray and Oriana Nunez. Show us some love by subscribing and sharing so we can continue to bring on amazing guests. Wow, I am so excited for this episode. We have somebody very special to us join us today on our couch, and we just can't wait for our audience to hear about you, who you are, your accomplishments. You're just such a person that we admire. You inspire us. You challenge us. You motivate us. You just add so much to us. So we are excited for you to also be able to share that with our audience as well. Cristina Rodriguez, thank you for being in our podcast.
Thank you so much, guys. Feel very honored with that introduction. Thank you so much. I am so very happy to be here and be able to share this space with you guys and create some good energy and good conversation. So a lot of people can get a lot of things out of this. So grateful.
I'm so excited.
I love this. I love the intro, by the way. But with that being said, I kind of want to bring it to how I was kind of introduced to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at a local Jaxeria in Jacksonville,
Everything
Florida.
starts with Jackson.
Doesn't it? Damn. And you were heading... That night, they were announcing that you were doing the Spanish version.
Like the chapter.
Correct.
Yes.
Of the Jaxeria. And I believe it didn't last too long, unfortunately, but you are very helpful, very given, and I see you a lot in the community. So what brought you to Jacksonville? Because you're not from Jacksonville. And yeah, tell us, how did you end up? Because you're from Miami.
Yes, I'm from Miami. I lived in Miami for almost 30 years, and I loved it. It was a big part of my life. My kids were born there, but I started in real estate just shortly before 2008 and the crash. I started in 2007, so I've been doing real estate for a while, and being in that space, I had a property manager moved to Jacksonville, and he called me a couple of weeks after he moved to tell me how interesting the real estate was in Jacksonville and the deals that were at in Jacksonville. So I was very curious to go outside of my comfort zone, and that's one conversation and one thing that I always keep in my mind is about comfort zones. You know, how you really need to get out of your comfort zone to get to the next step. Because when you are nice and comfy, you don't accomplish a lot. You just stay stagnant. Mm-hmm. And so I took my car, drove 5.5 hours to another world in real estate, completely different from Miami. And I saw the immense opportunities that were there. I was able to buy houses for $1,000, $2,000.
That's so crazy.
And
that's so crazy.
Yes,
Cristina, why Jax? Because there's so many other cities in between.
She skipped Orlando.
And Tampa.
I skipped Orlando. Well, my property manager was here, so it helped that I already had someone that I trusted that could help with the construction, that could help with management.
Got it.
So it gave me the tranquility to be able to say, okay, I'm going to be able to go and invest there, and I have
Makes
someone
sense.
that I know that I can trust with the construction, with the budgets, with the money, with the collection of the rents, and it was easy. So I started doing that, traveling back and forth, and it was a little bit too much. And
it's a long drive.
Yes, 5.5 hours, and I will come on Mondays, then leave on Wednesdays or Thursdays, and after a while, I decided I was at a point in my life that I needed to change, and Miami I was not doing real estate in Miami anymore. I had my portfolio, but it was very stagnant.
What were you doing? What was the real estate investment that you were doing in Miami?
So I had houses. I had rental homes.
Okay.
So up to that point, at that time, it only existed the long-term rentals and the flip. There were no Airbnbs,
Right.
VRBOs, PadSplits, Coliving, nothing like that. So I had my portfolio in Miami, and I had sold 2 3 years before I moved here. I have sold a big portion of it, and I did not reinvest it in Miami. I was waiting for something else to happen. Miami at the time, I thought it was too expensive so for the returns that I require to have on my money. And then Jacksonville showed up, and it was like the perfect storm. I had someone here.
Mm-hmm.
The real estate was very affordable for what I was doing, and if I felt that I needed a change
Mm-hmm.
for my life. And my daughter was teenager at that time. She was ready to get to high school, and I thought it was the perfect time to make that change. So we took a leap of faith and drove with her, looked at areas, and we decided where to live, and we end up moving here.
Well,
A
it's a big change.
$1,000 purchase price
How many did you
Yes.
buy?
at that time.
So
I
in
want that
one
and
trip,
that and that.
yes, in one trip, literally, we drove through a neighborhood, and the houses they were not in good condition. Obviously, this is
Right.
not rental producing houses with a
Yeah.
tenant and everything brand new. These were houses that needed
Needed work.
full full construction, but still, it were 1,500, 2,000. And in one of those trips, we bought 20 houses.
Wow.
Yes. In a neighborhood that a lot of the other investors and people that we were meeting were telling us, you're crazy, you should never buy there. But every time someone tells me you're crazy, you should not do, I'm like, maybe this is the way I need to go. Because the majority of the people, they have that herd mentality. So
Mhm.
if everyone goes to the right, or everyone goes to the right, then where's the opportunities on the left?
They're probably thinking inside the box while you're outside the box.
Yes. Obviously, I'm very cautious about doing my numbers. And I think that one of the secrets of real estate is due diligence. And you should know your market better than anyone. It's not your realtor, it's not the other fellow investors that bring you deals. You are the one who needs to understand what the price per square feet is, how much construction is going to be, what the rental amount is, how much it's going to cost you to flip or rehab that house. So yes, we bought 20 houses in that trip.
Wow.
That was so much fun. So much fun.
She went to the supermarket and started
really
putting add to
did.
cart.
I mean, if you logically think about it, she sold properties in Miami
Right.
and then took
Right.
the Miami money and
It
said,
makes sense.
let's go shopping.
Yeah, but
It
the
makes
Miami
sense.
money in 2015 is not the Miami money from now.
That's
For
also
sure.
true.
Yeah. No, and two, Jacksonville was a very different city back then. So
Could imagine.
we saw so many houses. I wish I had more money at that time. I wanted
Right.
to buy everything because you would get
Right.
houses for $10,000, $15,000. You put a 20,000 on it, and you were getting $800, $900 a month
Super good.
for rental. But it was so much inventory, and that's when I think we realized that we need to be around here. So my business partner and I, we will be coming all the time to Jacksonville, but it was tough because you have to handle the construction and general contractors and contractors, and people don't behave the same way when you're there than when you're not there. So we had losses with contractors that did not perform, and they got paid at least the first draw money, and so we lost some money, and after that, that's when we realized, no, we have
We
to
have
be
to be here. We have to be present to manage.
yes, and
You scaled very quickly.
yes,
Understatement.
yes,
Yeah, you're right. Understatement. I feel like we scaled, quote unquote, quickly, and it was overwhelming for us. I think we were not prepared with the responsibility that came with.
We're the dog that chased the car, but we caught the car and we weren't ready for
And we did
That car
it. You know,
moving.
we did it. We figured it
Yeah, we're
out.
here.
How did you manage to do that?
So I think for me is I'm able to visualize the whole process.
Okay.
So I don't get into a property without knowing how I'm going to get out.
Yeah.
There is no I'll see what the market, no. I have to be very clear. because if I'm going to buy a property, I need to understand if I'm going to flip it, if I'm going to keep it long term, what am I going to do? Because it's two different strategies, completely different rehab, and the resources that you're going to spend on it. And so you have to make sure that you know where you're going. So even with the refi, so for example, if you're planning to buy a mobile homes, mobile homes doesn't have um, the same companies to be able to do the financing, the refi. So if you're not clear how are you going to refi that mobile home, or if you're going to sell that mobile home because financing is not the same, I don't want to get to that point and then be like, oh, I'm surprised here.
Right.
So in my mind, I run through the whole circle. So I'm going to buy this, I'm going to build or rehab this amount, and then I'm going to rent this amount. And this amount has to be able to qualify for a DSCR loan.
Got it.
As opposed to, oh, I'm going to buy it and then I'll see in 6 months what the rentals are. And then I realize that the rentals are not going to be able to cover my principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So I think that because we knew where we were going, we knew what we wanted. It was not easy, but it was something that we could do.
Got it.
So yes, I go through the whole process in my mind. If this is going to be a rental, if this is going to be a long term, or what it is.
And how were you able to manage those 20 different? Well, I don't think it was 20 contractors, but you needed a big group of contractors.
So I have an incredible business
because you were doing simultaneous renovations.
Yes, and it's a lot of money out there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of bills. It's a lot of crews.
Holding costs is expensive.
It's a lot of holding costs. So I always tell my partner, we divide and conquer. I always tell him that he's in charge of construction and everything that has to do with it, and I'm on the other side. So he's not quoting insurance. He's not looking for finance. And he's always with the construction crews. He's handling the contractors. He's always looking for new contractors, which is very important because people move, people die, people don't show up, and you can just sit down and wait for 3 days, 4 days for people to show up. And I handle all the other side. So I think I have a really good team. My team that manages the Airbnbs, they're awesome. My team for my property managers, my rentals are great, and my PadSplits I have a good team.
Wow.
I definitely want to dive into
I know
your team building portion of it.
I know. I think you're so brilliant at this. So you went with rentals at first. You acquired 20, right? And that's just one trip. You did renovations, and then you were doing long term.
Yes.
But today you have a very diversified portfolio.
Yes.
When did you decide to make a pivot? Like I know your story. Not all the way, but I'm familiar. So when did you decide to start pivoting into adding new different strategies into your portfolio to diversify?
Was it immediate for you on like Airbnb, or did you wait a second, analyze it, educate yourself, and then implement it?
So I am very analytical. I have to understand things. I have to go through one process and understand the numbers, the variables, what's fixed, what can change, what is it that I can control, what I cannot control of the business. And one of my biggest lessons in life was my long-term rentals in Miami. And I used to manage that, and I got burned. And that was a big lesson to me, because I understood that I cannot wear all hats, that if I am the property manager for the long-term rentals, it gets a piece of me. It's not what I love to do. So one of the reasons I sold my portfolio was because I was a tired landlord, which is exactly what you look for when you're looking for opportunities. You're looking for tired landlords. And I was one of them. I was tired of the calls, of the excuses. I did so many evictions. So I was not in love with it anymore.
Mm.
And I'm a very passionate person, so I need to be in love with
Your
things.
heart was not in it anymore.
Exactly. So one of the reasons I sold my portfolio was because my heart was not in it, and unfortunately, I at that time I did not had a mentor or YouTube or someone to tell me, hey, listen, your problem is that you're tired. Just give it to a property manager.
That's right.
Move, step back, look again what you like, and find it. No, I sold it, and then I moved on to do exactly the same thing, to build another long-term portfolio. So lesson learned.
That's how you know you can start over again whenever you want.
Oh yes,
You've rebuilt yourself.
oh yes, definitely.
That's not a problem.
I'm definitely a person that I don't stay. I don't stay in one place. I keep on moving. So even if sometimes even if I don't know where to go, I know that if I just do one step forward every day,
Yeah.
I am going towards my goal. It doesn't have to be 10 houses, 300 houses. No, even if I'm looking at the MLS and understanding the market, I'm doing something towards my goals. So one step, very, very cautious about that one step.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I was telling you, yes, I got tired of it, and then I decided to do it all over again. So when we bought all these houses and we were coming back and forward from Miami to Jacksonville, we were staying at hotels, and the hotels at Jax at that time were not the best places to stay at. It was very challenging to find, and it wasn't even about money because there was only one hotel downtown Omni that was basically the only option.
Oh, wow.
And they didn't have rooms all the time. So then we heard about this thing, Airbnb. So we started staying at Airbnbs. And then we walked into some really cool, nice places, and we walked into some really horrible places. So after staying there, going back and forth, one day the light bulb went on, and I said, "Oh my goodness, why am I spending all this money on these places when I can buy a house, I can stage it like this, and then I can start doing my own Airbnb?" And that's how I started with Airbnb. I was one of the people that when I read about Airbnb, that you're going to rent someone's room or someone's house and you're going to stay there, I was like, no way.
I would never.
I will never do that.
Yep.
And as life has shown me, every time I
You
said
say
I
would
never, I end up there face
Wow.
first.
Christina, I feel like I've learned that too. Every time I say I would never, I'm like, crap, I'm here. I said I would never.
I'm not going to skip along, but I just want to remind like us when you walked into our house and you said, and I'm putting it together now, you're like, oh, I used to have like 20 houses in this neighborhood. I would never do a pad split here. And then you walked it and we walked it and you're like, this is nice, but I would never. I get it. You said you would never. So you ended up.
I ended up in PadSplit, yes.
Yeah. But anyway, back to
funny.
Airbnb, the light bulb.
Yeah.
That's so you were an early adopter in Jax for Airbnb.
Oh, yes.
Because
Yes.
I'm sure that there was not that many options back then.
It was before COVID. It was just a little bit before COVID.
Okay.
So that was really scary because we launched this house, 3 units, so happy. And then like 5 months later, COVID happens. And we were like, oh my goodness, nobody's going to travel. Oh my goodness. Everyone was traveling.
To Florida, of course.
We never
We were open.
Never stopped. Never stopped. COVID was an eye opener about how people pivot and you say no here, then you go somewhere else. So we were very busy and we started opening Airbnbs, and the rest of the world started opening Airbnbs too. So,
Everybody got
They-
an Airbnb.
People
during
made a
COVID.
lot of money during 2020 for Airbnb.
2020, 2021.
yeah,
For
because
sure.
the hotels were, you did not want to stay out of hotels.
That's true.
And there was not many options in Jax either, and there were a lot of people coming through. So one of the things that worked for us is that our Airbnbs are very close to 95, so we got a lot of people that were going either driving north or driving south. So we got a lot of those 1-day stays. Were fast turnover, and we were able to grow thanks
Wow.
to that.
That's awesome. have at the time, or how many do you have Airbnbs?
So we have sold a couple of our houses, and right now we have 10 Airbnbs.
That's incredible.
Yes, and I still believe in it. I still
do too.
believe there's a market.
Oh,
Actually,
there is.
yes,
There is.
yes. Actually, something interesting has happened.
Mm.
A lot of people have closed their Airbnbs.
Yeah.
So it's really good for our business because now our occupancy definitely has gone up. We're right up there at the 90%.
Beautiful.
So, and we, in some point, we were down to 75% because a year and a half ago, 2 years, there was so much competition in,
So many different options available.
yes, in Jacksonville. But we stayed there. We kept there.
Well, you're an operator. And as an operator,
Oh, yeah.
you choose to, and then as an investor, you choose to acquire smart. You do your rehab smart, and then you figure out how to operate your property so that you can do it to scale.
Yes.
There's a lot of trends, and then people hop on trends, and then those are the ones that usually fall off first when it comes time to suffering a little bit when the market corrects. So
Yes.
you obviously, since you look at your operation, you think to yourself, I need cleaners. I'm going to do my own cleaning business for my own operation, while others still have to pay for cleaners, which is a pain for anyone. It's a pain even for us to try to find cleaners. So
Yes. So we have a staff our staff. So I don't outsource that. So I control their time. I control the cost.
Love that.
And so I know up to how many units I have one cleaner when I have to hire the next one because we have grown. Like right now, we're acquiring, we just finished another 3 units. And I know that at this point, I need to get another lady to help out because it's just too much. But I have a balance, and it helps us that we have other businesses. We have the PadSplits, we have the long terms, and it helps that we have our own staff because for PadSplits we don't have to hire anyone whenever the schedule. So I have to find efficiencies in my operation. So one of our efficiencies is that my cleaners are basically paid by the Airbnb business, and then they go and they clean the PadSplits. So I just charge the PadSplits the cleaning fees that I will pay somebody else, but I'm paying another one of my companies to do it. So there's an efficiency there. And I think that's very important too. You have to be able to find those spots where you're making money or you're losing money to at least minimize if there's a loss, if you're bleeding money, and find ways to shuffle things again and be creative. Because I'm a small business, I'm not a huge company. And everyone's time, it's I
valuable.
feel it.
Oh, yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
So one cleaner that it's sitting down because today there was only one Airbnb to clean and she has 4 hours left. I have to find where else so I can bill her. Yes, so I can bill her time. So I treat everything as billable time. Many moons ago, I worked with an accountant and I understood the concept of billable time and how powerful it is. That if I'm not allocating that billable time to anyone, I'm losing that money. So I keep that in my mind always. It's so important to know who's paying for what. Because if nobody's paying for that, I am paying for it.
That's right.
And if I'm paying for it, I need to make sure that there's revenue coming in, that it's going to balance that out.
I love listening to Cristina talk.
I know. I'm like, keep going, Christina.
Because I'm sitting here. I had a business idea while sitting here.
I'm taking so many notes already from her.
Business idea. How to better run
Our operation, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'll be more than happy to look at the business and tell you where I see deficiencies and where I see strengths. Because you always have to, pump those strengths.
Yeah, sometimes you need like a third person that can come out from a outsider perspective and give you some valuable insight.
We're the Miami version of you right now.
I love it. You're my better version. Guys are much better than me.
I mean, but either way, okay, so you started jumping to Airbnb. You started your property manager. So you did eventually, when you did long term, you did have a property manager in place. And you still used him in your operation in Airbnb, technically, or at that point, you kind of created your own systems around it to become more efficient?
So my property manager, he handled. So we built a portfolio here in Jacksonville, and then we started selling some of the properties because we wanted to use the equity that has been built into other ventures that were producing more money. And so one thing we found at that time is, and this is why it's so important that you understand every aspect of the cycle of business in real estate. So you have the acquisitions, you have your construction, then you have your property management, and then you have your either disposition or refi or whatever you want to call it, right? So a lot of our houses were under $100,000 at that time
when you purchased them,
when
or like the cost,
the ARV, the after repair value
yeah.
was under $100,000.
Okay.
So that market, it's very, very limited for refi.
Right.
So when I went to, some of the lenders and said, hey, I have this house, let's say for $90,000, I put in 30, 40, I have an equity of 50,000, right? I need to refi some of that cash out. No lender wanted to touch anything under 100.
That's right. Nothing under 100. That's right. And I think, correct me, I think it's still the same.
It is. It's very.
It's hard.
Only over 100,000 they would look at.
There's a couple of lenders that I know, but they will do it up
at
to 85,000.
Okay.
But then they charge you extra points.
Of course.
Because you have to understand that for a lender to do a loan of $100,000 or a loan for $500,000 is exactly the same resources, the same time for the underwriter, the same time for everything else. So where are you going to make more money, with the 100,000 or the 400,000? So if you have 3 underwriters, you want them to be working on deals that are going to maximize their time. So at that time, we ran into that issue. So some of the reason why we decided to go and sell, so we can
the bank.
Exactly, and use those funds in higher returns. Because at that time, then when we did the analysis between the rent and what the ARB was and how much money we had, then we had it was diminishing. So we were not getting as much money. And if you stay like that, and that's something very important, because a lot of times, and a lot of people, what they do is they have their portfolio, they rent it, and they don't look at the portfolio again.
They don't look at the numbers.
To look at the numbers.
That's right.
So a house for us, there was an Airbnb that it was highly profitable at that time. We looked at it, and from what we were charging, what we were getting, and the equity that was in the house, it was not worth it. We had hundreds of thousands of dollars in houses that were producing a limited amount when we could pull out that equity
and make more out of that.
Make more money.
This is something our CPA tells us all the time. Look at the numbers. If the property's not making, sell it. It's fine. You're going to reinvest it into something else that will generate more. So you saying that again just continues to ring in my head as well.
And I understand that there's some sentimental value. You get attached to things, And for me, it was one of the first houses. It was a beautiful house, and I call it the blue house, and I was so attached to it. And to me, to let it go, one of the reasons I was able to let her go was because I looked at the numbers, and it was right there screaming at me, what
Cristina,
are you
gotta
doing?
Let this one go.
Yes. What are you doing? There is all this equity sitting here, and you're making this amount of money that when you do the numbers, your return on investment is 7%. When you take that money out, even if I did private lending, I will be getting 12%. I will be getting 5% more on my money.
Right.
But there was some, those sentimental value. There was an attachment there that in business, you can't do it, because when you wake up 10 years later, you have a portfolio that is performing horribly.
Right.
The market has shifted up and down. You have missed a lot of opportunities that you're able to double, quadruple your money. And you have to kill it. You have to do it.
And that's what it's about. Real estate is about buying and selling, being strategic about those moments.
Yeah.
Looking at the trends, reading the numbers, and identifying when the time to move forward is, or just stay where you are.
Yes.
But Monopoly is about purchasing and selling.
I always suck that Monopoly.
I mostly won in Monopoly.
Wow. That's why we're married. Okay, so I want to get into then transitionally into PadSplit a little bit. And with PadSplit, you were in concept, you knew it earlier because we met early. But
Cristina has known about PadSplit for like 3 years.
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
she really has. And then she walked our first property that we bought in Jacksonville.
Yeah, you saw our personal first PadSplit when we
Yes.
had the walls up.
Yes.
With the walls up,
Yeah, we had the walls up.
we were like, Cristina, just come
The
walk
rehab
it.
was finished. Mostly. I don't know if it was furnished yet, but
It was being furnished at
Okay.
the time. Yes.
Okay.
and it was cute. We do nice work. So she's like, "This is nice. This is a nice corner."
She's like, I see it. Okay. But still, no, thank you.
Yeah, she pushed it away. She's like, "I had around here. I could see how PadSplit works in this neighborhood, but I don't want to jump back into buying in this neighborhood particularly."
Yes.
So that was the objection that you had, and then
Yes.
I think from there we diversified, and we did go into not just the northwest part of Jacksonville, but we also went to the southwest, and then we also went to the east side of
east.
Jacksonville.
Mhm.
So we kind of spread around a little bit at that point. But what I walked a quadplex of yours. I thought would have been a perfect pad split. You ended up going long term.
Mm-hmm.
What was the decision in that? Out of curiosity, when you ran your numbers, like you compared apples to somewhat apples, like your analytical side.
So that particular property, I thought it wouldn't work because of the numbers exactly. Because in my mind, and having a vacancy, I think it was of 10% or 15%.
Mhm.
It was more or less the same thing with
Long term.
with the long term, because that property had 3 bedrooms. So it was not a large property. It was, each unit had 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. And I did not see a way to convert the living room into a 4th property, because it would have cost us, I don't know, $2,000-$3,000 more. And I didn't want to mess up with the apartment at that time. So the numbers for a 3-2 were tied.
Got it.
So my time again. My comparison between the long-term rental and the PadSplit, because in PadSplit I'm responsible for utilities, I'm responsible for the internet. I still have to send someone to clean at least once a month.
Yeah.
The numbers were right there, and there was not really that difference.
It was
that
not a significant increase
Yes,
of income for
yes.
you to make the change.
Yes, exactly.
Got it.
So the other thing was, obviously PadSplit was at a different time with the
It was new.
different amount of
Units.
the number of users. So my main concern was users.
Got it.
The
The members.
exactly, to have those vacancies going up. And so I don't think that property was the best property. So
I'll admit, at the time, it was more speculative numbers versus comparable numbers.
yes.
So the numbers did go higher than what I anticipated, but at that very moment, the numbers were speculative, and you do responsibly have to factor in, let's say, vacancies. And if you don't know, then extra vacancies, because you don't want to get caught, in a bad situation. So I get why you didn't do it. Now, looking back at that same property, would you have done a 4th bedroom, or would you have done that as a pad split, knowing the numbers today, or is that, you think, still a sound decision? And I know we don't like looking back.
No. Sometimes it's good, because you can learn from those decisions, and for me, I see how different my state of mind is, so how much I changed. So I don't think that is the best property for pad splits, only because the rental amount that I get long term, it's high, and that property is big. My utilities are a big expense there, so I don't think that will be the best property. What I would have done differently, if that's what you're asking me, is definitely I would have started looking at pad splits before. I would have started understanding better the model, so I can look properties for pad splits.
Got it. Something that would fit better for the model.
Yes.
Knowing,
versus using something on your portfolio.
Yes.
Got it.
knowing what
Yes.
you know now, what is your ideal type of pad split?
Yeah. What does that look like for you today? If you have to go out and find something in your portfolio that would be a good
Well,
fit for
not
PadSplit
portfolio, but you're shopping.
in general.
Yeah.
So if I'm shopping for properties for pad splits, I want to make sure that I have 2 bathrooms at least. Um, I have smaller pad splits
Mm-hmm.
You do.
that I have that are 4 bedrooms, 1 bath.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see I'm 100% occupancy, pad split has been only good things for us. We're really up there. I don't even go to the 80%. It's right there.
Mm-hmm.
The properties are full all the time. So what I think I will look for, has to have 2 bathrooms at least,
Mm-hmm.
and it has to have some, that the flow of the house is you can breathe, that the house can breathe.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have people bumping into each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What I have learned now with my pad splits, that I barely get any maintenance or comments from the pet mates, is I put signs for everything.
Mm.
So I have learned that if I put signs on the refrigerator saying, please only touch your food, and I know it sounds really dumb, but I think that if you are reminded daily that you only have to touch your food, people will not touch other people's food.
I couldn't agree with you more.
So I have that,
Don't flush things down the toilet that you don't need to be flushing down the
Exactly.
toilet.
Exactly.
Like, close the door behind you, turn the lights off.
Yes. And obviously, have your numbers, very clearly, be very clear when they moved in,
Mm-hmm.
what is expected, please no noise after hours. Like, be very clear. I think that when you put expectations, people tend to meet those expectations. If you put very low expectations, people will not do things because they're like, oh, why do it if nobody's looking or nobody's asking?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one of the things. So going back to the flow of the house, so put a lot of signs and avoid those times where pet mates are going to get in each other's face. And the square feet obviously is extremely important. You need to have, if you're going to go high, you need to have 2,000 square feet. I personally don't like the 10 bedrooms, 2 baths.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is not for me. I like to live a very calm, peace life. So the way my pad splits work is I barely hear from them because things flow, because people are happy. That's why people are not moving every 2-3 weeks, because they're in each other's face. So I make sure that the count of the rooms is not extremely high, but it's low. It's low, but it's profitable, obviously.
So what's that sweet spot for you?
I think I will do up to 6.
Okay.
And that's what we're looking for right now. Actually, I have walked so many houses in the past couple of weeks because we're looking for our pad splits, and we have not been able to
find the right one.
find the right houses. Or the other thing is that I have discovered is, so we found a house that we liked, but the problem was that converting those other 2 rooms,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what people sometimes don't think, the electrical was a whole issue.
Mm.
Because where the switches were, we couldn't put the door, we had to move this and that. And when you start looking at the cost of doing the conversion, it's high.
Mm-hmm.
So how long is it going to take for you to recoup that money,
That investment. Yeah.
that investment? So I think that is very, very important that at the beginning, when you start doing your due diligence, to make sure that you are very sharp on your numbers. Because if the house it's too expensive to convert, then how long you're going to have to be able to have it as a pad split.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is obviously the refi now, the DSCR loan. So I know that there are companies like Jeff Weller that he has a product for pad splits, which is great,
Incredible. Mm-hmm.
which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But that product, you have to look at his pricing.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And it's not the same pricing as a regular.
DSCR. Mm-hmm.
Exactly, long term. So when you think, I just finished refinancing a house, it was 7.25.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that for PadSplit would be a little bit higher, so my servicing will be higher. So I gotta make sure that
But the numbers still make sense.
exactly.
That's actually a fantastic point. I mean, they're all great points. The very first one you don't hear much of, the layout of the house, the flow of the house.
Oh yeah.
I think I'd say layout, but in other words, it's flow. And you want to make sure that the rooms just have this nice air to breathe and a separation where it doesn't conveniently always happen, but yeah, there's a bathroom in an area where there's a couple rooms, bathroom in an area where there's a couple rooms, and that they're just not all just on top of each other. Room. And I think people get stuck in the room count. Hey, I need it to be 8 by 10. I need to get 10 rooms out of it. I think as we've matured more and learned more about what works on PadSplit, it's the bigger rooms, and it's also not having that many. And can 10 rooms work? For sure. We've heard of people having 10 rooms and there would be no issue. But ownership, 6, 7, tends to be what our sweet spot, like around 7.
For sure. 6 to 7.
Yeah, but it has to be a house that is big enough and has that flow.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that. So I wouldn't rule out more rooms. If I have a 3,000 square feet house, oh my goodness, I can get 10 rooms, 4 bathrooms easily. Yeah. But if I have a 2,000 square foot house, I'm not gonna 7 rooms, 8 rooms.
Yeah.
So you really want, what I want is that my house is at 100% occupancy all the time.
That you're cash flowing well.
Yeah.
Remember the house that we walked, our first PadSplit. Really like that layout since it's a 2-floor home.
It's kind of tri-level.
Yeah. It's almost like a tri-level. You're right. But we have like some rooms upstairs. We just have one in the dining room, and then towards the left side,
well, dining room and living room,
we have like some other set of rooms. So it flows very well, like how we felt like it flowed, because it felt like it was separated, and there was like, yes, we have 8 rooms in that house, but technically just 3 people upstairs, 3 people downstairs to the left, and then 2 on the other side. So it's almost like 3 different universes within that same property. So we like that layout because it still allowed people to have their own mini universes within the big house.
And the price is great. That's why we obviously purchased in Jacksonville. I mean, obviously in Jacksonville, prices are high for people in Jacksonville, but for people outside of Jacksonville, compared to Orlando,
compare Miami.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that house, I think that is a perfect PadSplit because you don't have a lot of interaction between the pad mates. You have it's different spaces completely. I think that's a really good option. But that house is like what, 2,500 square feet?
19.
Oh wow!
It might be 19 to 21. I'm not sure. And
it's around there, 19 to 21 square feet.
Yeah, but again, people feel that they're in their own apartment. They don't feel that they are roommates.
Correct.
Because they're not sharing a lot of space because they have their own different entrances and world. Yeah.
So I did want to bring it back to the RIA and education because you continue to educate a bit and you still continue to be a part of the community.
I mean, she doesn't stop educating herself.
100. I mean, you're a student. Every time I catch you, we share what we've learned and we share what our experiences are, and that's what continues to motivate us. And we'll get into motivations a little bit, but you continue to give.
Yes.
So how important is it to give in what you're doing?
To me, it's extremely, extremely important to be able, 1, part of a community. 2, I think that so when you are in a position that you can lend a hand, I think that there's no better feeling than to be able to lift someone up.
Yep.
And me personally, I know I've been down there a lot. And there were few people in my life, especially in real estate, that were generous with their time or with their experience that wanted to help. And 2, now we have a lot of resources like, YouTube or Jack's RIA and books everywhere. But really, when you sit down and you talk to a person that has been there, that they can relate to the situation and maybe give you another point of view is so important. Because when you're having a problem or you're having a situation that you think it's the end of the world, you get tunnel vision, which is the worst thing you can do because you only see the problem. You don't see the solutions. You don't see anything else. But if someone takes you back and says, hey, listen, let me take this out. Let me show you all the possibilities that there are out there. It really helps. And especially if it's someone that has been there. So I've been in real estate since 2007. which is a
Yeah.
long time.
For real estate, it's a very long time.
Exactly.
And you've seen changes, you've seen shifts, you've seen a lot of people succeed, a
Yes.
lot of people not make it.
Yes, and I seen a lot of people that they had it, they were happy, and market changed. They made a couple of bad decisions,
It's
and
gone.
back
Yeah.
to square one.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that to help, to be able to talk to people, to be able to learn, because I learn every day. Every day I listen to a new podcast, I listen to a new guy, and then, just like PadSplit. 10 years ago, someone had told me about PadSplit, I would have said, no way. Here I am doing PadSplit. Yes. And I'm sure that in a couple of years, we're going to be investing in another kind
Oh,
of
for
situation
sure,
or
for
building
sure,
something
for
different.
sure.
And we would have never done that.
For
But
sure.
the ability to either be involved with the community, help people, listen to people, it's so important. And we are very social animals. We need the interaction. We want that.
Yeah.
And life to be an island, not to me.
No.
I'm not that person. I want to be able to help. I want to be able to learn. I'm super excited. I'm not stopping, and we're talking about it. I'm not stopping. I don't know when I'm gonna stop. And to me, every day is exciting because I don't know what house I'm gonna walk, who am I gonna meet, who my next private lender is gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
I just started working with a new private lender, which I think it's an incredible guy. And the other person that I'm working, another lady, she's awesome. I love to watch her YouTubes. This wasn't happening in my life 6 months ago. Now I have all these new lenders, new people, and I'm sure, new general contractors, new businesses are going to come in. How exciting it is.
I love that. I love that.
Are you,
my
go for it. Go
no,
for it. Go
no,
for it.
no, it
Go
was
for
a
it.
compliment.
Oh yeah,
You
go
were
for
gonna ask
it.
a question.
No, compliment her.
I love to compliment her. I mean, and as we know, you don't say to one trend. You don't only do one thing. So I'm sure you're gonna find whatever that next thing is, and hopefully you bring us along with you.
She's not leaving us behind.
No, we're attached. Garrapata, that's what we are.
Hi.
She's so cute. Christy, how are you considering investing out of Jack's? Is that something that you're considering?
Yes, it's funny that you say that. So my partner and I, we had been looking at other areas close to Jack's.
Okay.
I'm always kidding with him. I always tell him, let's go to Cincinnati because I belong to a group out of Cincinnati and I see the numbers of the properties that they buy and sell there. So I always tell him, let's go to Cincinnati. But he's like, no, we got to take an airplane to go there.
I'm glad
So-
you didn't say Palaka.
It could be.
Oh my God, I drove Palatka
There's nothing.
a month ago.
We'll talk about that after,
Yes.
but I'm very curious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about that.
So yes, we're
later.
looking outside of Jacksonville.
Okay.
So we're looking at Ocala. We are looking at Palm Bay, and Palm Bay is
Palm Coast.
yeah, Palm Coast. It's too expensive for what we're looking at.
Palm Bay is
So-
pricey now.
Yes, and no PadSplits there.
No, there. I think we have two. We only have two PadSplits there. We have one coming soon in Palm Coast,
Yeah,
but
So-
it's Palm Bay in 2020. Remember 2020? They were given those houses basically for
Yeah, the
very
lots
low
were cheap. We're gonna do new construction.
yeah,
in 2020, and now houses are
yeah. It's not.
like up 300s.
Yeah, it's not cheap. It's expensive.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as
I mean, it's still developing, so there's still opportunity there, but yeah, they're definitely on the higher end now.
I think we have to be very cautious now with
Mhm.
all the new construction
Oh yeah.
that it's happening.
Oh yeah.
Again, you have to do your due diligence because there's a thing called overdevelopment too.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of areas can overdevelop, and those developers that were thinking that they were going to sell houses for 500,000, now they're selling them for 350,
Yeah, that's right.
and that's very scary because that. So to me, in real estate, you have to have organic growth. So it's not only the price of the houses, but you have to have the population to support the growth.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, what is that? Employment. It's
Yeah.
very simple for me. It's employment. If you don't have growth in employment organically, you are not going to be able to have a market that is going to appreciate year after year.
Yep.
because there's places in Florida where you have people coming in for seasons.
Mm-hmm.
They come for the winter
Mm-hmm.
and then they leave, and then your employment goes up and down because waiters, cleaners, everyone else, they have to go and find jobs somewhere else, so they cannot sustain that growth. So I will be very cautious, especially with Florida, that there's places that are being overdeveloped, and you can see the data, and you see that the houses, the only thing that keeps on going is down the prices. So that's one thing to consider in Florida. So yeah, we're looking at other places.
That's a good point. I think, and you tell me what what you see, but one of those areas for me would be the Panhandle.
Yes, very.
Like the Panhandle is very driven by snowbirds, right? So to your point, they're here to service the snowbirds when they come to Florida in the Panhandle, or for when kids go out of school.
Summer.
Daytona,
No, kids go out of school in spring.
a spring break.
Spring break. Duh. Spring break time. And
Mm.
most of them migrate there, but that's just a week, right? So I think that's one of those areas that, will face that. I mean, South Florida period is always never ending in its growth. So I
say
would,
South Florida
I wouldn't-
continues to grow.
yeah, I
and
would not say
grow.
that is the case there for sure.
No, not at all. And
Yeah.
we talk about Orlando a lot, and we push Orlando. I mean, we kind of don't want to push Orlando.
Because it's
But-
so good.
Yeah, we're about to add another theme park, and that theme park's supposed to bring 14,000 jobs.
14,000 jobs.
And so when anyone asks me about PadSplit, where to buy PadSplits, I tend to tell them, go where the employer's at. Because a lot of those people can't afford to live in that area where there's tourism because real estate's expensive or minimal. So I tend to tell people kind of the same advice you give. Go where the jobs are at. Palm Bay is good because you have government contract jobs. A lot of them have to stay there for like 8 months, 9 months in order to then go
Mhm.
somewhere else.
Mm.
So how much occupancy and tenure do you want to have? You have someone in your room for 8 months, 9 months, and they're a government paid person. Those sounds like two great qualities to me at the end of the day. So I tend to give advice that way too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to me, Jacksonville, when we looked at it, 5-6 years ago, I only saw a place where living was extremely affordable, and there were companies moving into the area, and you started to see, Dun & Bradstreet, Deutsche Bank, the FBI, all of those started moving into this little cluster, and then more banks, more processing companies have now offices in Jax, and that's one of the things that I like about Jacksonville, that I
Mhm.
think that once you pass over that hurdle of the first 2 or 3 big companies moving some type of operation down south, then others tend to follow, because
Mhm.
you got to think, if a company is moving here, they need employment.
That's
they
right.
need employees. Where are those employees going to come from? They're going to steal it from the other companies. So,
Yep.
because they don't want, relocation is expensive too for companies. So once you get those moving in, you have more companies saying, people are happy because now an employee that was making $80,000 a year, that was renting where they were living,
Mhm.
now in here they can buy their first house, because if you have a salary of $80,000, that means that you're most likely will be able to qualify for a $300,000 purchase, give or less.
Yep.
So that is important too. So companies moving in. So I think that that's one of the things that is happening for Jacksonville, which is good and still keeps on growing. You see every day that new companies are moving some type of operation here. But again, if I'm going to go and look somewhere else in Florida, I have to see that there something else is happening.
Right.
There's going to have to be some spike on the numbers.
Yep.
Some new hotel, new park,
Mhm.
I don't know, something discovered.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's just because you went and bought real estate there, that doesn't mean it's going to go up. If you look at it, and if you look at the data, like Florida usually has consistent numbers going up.
Growth. Mhm.
Yes, growth, exactly. But there's other states that don't.
Mhm.
If you go up in the Midwest, up to a couple of years ago, the same house from 1970 that cost $150,000, in 1990 was $155,000. And as real estate investors, we're not only looking for the cash flow, we need the appreciation. We
Yep.
need to build equity, because
That's right.
what are you doing all this work for? It is
Yep.
for the equity because you want in a couple of years to look how your portfolio is growing and growing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
3, 5, 7, 10%, whatever your goal is yearly. Very important.
Do you have a goal on how long or large your portfolio wants to be? Is there something in mind? I know you don't limit yourself, but is there a goal that you're reaching at the current moment?
It's funny, I was listening to a podcast about like 10-year goals, how some people don't like to put them because it gives them,
Yeah.
a lot of anxiety
Mm-hmm.
because you put a lot of pressure. And I think it goes back to one step at the time.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm able to put my feet in front of the other one every day, I think I'm
You're
moving
making
towards
progress.
where it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm at a different point in my life than you guys. My
Yeah.
children are grown, they're gone. And so I want to be able to continue to work
Mm-hmm.
with this passion,
Mm-hmm.
with this gratitude, with this feeling of thank you, God, for my life. And so that growth has to be in a way that is not going to be, I'm going to be working
Endless
24
hours.
hours a
Mm-hmm.
day, or I'm going to be
Mm-hmm.
very, very concerned about my interest rates going up. So
Mm-hmm.
my decisions are very calculated.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to take maybe a decision that I would have taken 20 years ago
Mm-hmm.
because I had time, to grow a portfolio for another 20 years. Now I don't have as much as that, but I
You're
do think,
valuing other things right
yes.
now.
So I want to keep on growing. I'm not
Yeah.
going to stop because to me, my life, this is not my work, or this is not like a race. This is what I do every day that I love.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is forcing me to work the 10, 12 hours that I work sometimes, or the Saturdays and Sundays that I work, because I don't see it like, oh, it's Saturday and I have to go and look at houses. How horrible. No, I'm driving around and I see a sign that
Right.
says for sale by owner. I'm
You're
like,
like,
yay!
oh.
So this is what I like. This is my
Right.
life. This is a choice that I made many years ago. And I
Mhm.
am so grateful because I made that decision, that I had the courage to make that decision for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going to keep on going. And I don't know, maybe one day it will be such a good thing that I can sell it or leverage that I don't see myself in a beach all day, staring at the ocean. But I do like to travel and I love to see my kids. And, there's many things I still want to do and
For sure.
keep on doing them.
I love that.
Yeah.
We have to look at it that way too. But I think we have different phases and stages, different seasons,
Completely.
right?
Yes.
And there's a season for it. So I love the season that you're in. We're on the we gotta take this race. We gotta go.
We're in that race. We're in the
We-
middle of it.
Yeah, we're in growth for sure. I love it. Christina, what is a advice that you would give someone that has yet to make action into investing in real estate? Whatever strategy they decide to go. They're gathering all this information. They're constantly going to communities. They're constantly learning. They're constantly in webinars, watching YouTube videos, buying books.
How do you go from infotainment to action taker? Like, what advice would you give them?
So I think that sitting still and being quiet and being honest with yourself, it's very, very important. So you're taking action by learning, by listening to all these podcasts, by reading all these books, by downloading all these spreadsheets. That's great. I think there's a part that goes after that is called analysis paralysis, which
Mhm.
when I heard the term, I was like, oh, that's it. That you look at 20 houses and you do the spreadsheet and you look and you think, but there's always an excuse. Oh, but the market is too high. Oh, but it's this. Oh, but it's an election year. Oh, but the interests are so high. Those are all excuses. Because the best time to start in real estate is now. It's now. Not tomorrow, not the day after tomorrow. Is make the decision.
Today.
Look at the numbers and take a leap. So a lot of people tell me, for example, about interest rates. Oh, but my God, but the interest rates are so high. I've been around for a while, and when I used to work at a bank, we used to refi loans of 15%.
Yep.
So
15,
people,
18, 20%.
so people were buying houses with 15%. So why is stopping you right now? It's 7%, 7.5%.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that if you start getting yourself fixated on the 2 and 3%, you're never going to do anything. The numbers have to work. And in real estate, you have different ways that you make money. So you make money on the appreciation that you have every year, and that happens only if you have a property for a number of years. So you have that. You make money on the deductions that you can take
Tax benefits.
because they go against your income, and that's a real benefit, right? You make money on your cash flow, even if it's $200 a month. If you have 10 houses, that's $2,000 a month. You make money on your cash flow. So when you see that there's other ways that you're making money, then a deal maybe that is not that great on cash flow right now, but it has plenty of equity, then you have to make that analysis. But start now. And start with something that you are comfortable. Don't go and buy the $10 million building if you have never done one deal.
Right.
You know, buy the $150,000 home, have it for 2-3 months, and then my dad always said the first time is the hardest time. So I always, every time I'm going to do something new, I always have my dad in my mind. La primera vez es la más difícil. The first time is the hardest. So that's it. Then it becomes habit. Then you go to a close and you're like, another one.
It becomes exciting. But yeah, you're like, okay, I've been here before.
But
50 pages.
isn't it true?
Yeah.
Like, do you guys remember your first closing?
Oh, yeah.
They say that about a lot
yeah.
of things. Your first million's the hardest. Buying your first house the hardest. Your first flip is the hardest.
First baby's the hardest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
You guys remember the first time you signed a HUD, right?
Yes.
Do you remember how nervous you were, right?
Yes.
We took all the photos.
I actually just asked him this week. I was like, do you remember buying our first house? Because that was our first HUD.
Okay.
We've done, a million wholesale deals prior to that. So we've done plenty of HUDs, but this one was like our first one. And I was like, do you remember the feelings that you had? You're like, what did you say?
I remember being nervous because I've never been at a closing table. It was during COVID technically, so I was with a weird lawyer, but I'd never been at a closing before. That was for something that we were owning.
Ours.
So it was more nerves. And I remember being excited, but kind of not knowing what the next step was.
But you remember.
Yeah.
You have that
Oh,
feeling.
yeah.
Do you remember your 7th house? Do you know what the 7th house was? That's it. So you see how important that is? So
it was another Tuesday.
Exactly. But stay humble with that.
Yeah.
Like, I remember my first closing, but I don't remember my 20th, my 30th, my 40th closing. No idea. Right? But that one time that you did it, that's it. You break the bubble. That's it. You can keep on going for more. So that person that is sitting there going like, should I not? Just do it. Another thing I think is not helpful for people coming into this space is all the people in real estate saying that they're making millions of dollars, that in each deal they make $40,000, $50,000, $100,000. You know what? I'm so happy for you. But we all have lost money. And I don't think there's enough talk about it because when their standards are so high, people don't want to buy a house because they're going to make $10,000 because they think that's not good enough. The experience that you get,
so true.
That
You
experience,
get sharper.
it's invaluable.
It has no price. It has no price.
That's the $50,000 gain there.
That's right.
That you went through the process. You bought it. You rehab. The contractor stole your money. You have to do it again. You have to go and find another one. Then you went to find a loan and you talked to 10 mortgage brokers and none of them help you. And then there was this one person that explained everything. And then you refi and you were able to do. That person, it's going to be rich. It's going to find whatever their financial goals are, they will be most likely able to accomplish because they went through the whole process. And now it's going to become a habit.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys have now. You guys have the habit of looking at houses. You sign the HUD. You know what to look for.
Right.
So you start getting that momentum. And I think what stops people is that they do the first one, they get afraid because it was too good, because it was too bad, and then they don't get into that momentum. for me, in my experience, it's been, I have had those momentums and I feel them, that you start getting all these deals. And the majority of people, they do, oh, no, 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 no. Oh my goodness, grab as much as you can, very responsibly, but grab as much as you can, because then it's crickets again.
Mm-hmm.
No more wholesaling. Everything's too expensive. And then you have to start running again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you lose momentum. So I don't know if you've seen the thing that when the train passes, that you feel that pull.
Oh yeah.
When you feel that pull, grab the train. Because if you don't, you're going to have to wait for the other train. And that could be
And it could take a while.
Exactly.
It could take a while. I love that. Okay, last one for me. Why PadSplit? I know you do it all. But why would you tell somebody to invest in PadSplit?
Oh, I love PadSplit. PadSplit to me has given me oxygen to go with my long-term rentals. I love the fact that I feel that I'm making a difference in people's life, because I do see with my pad mates their stories. They're saving for a car, they're saving for a house, they have goals. I have a couple of people that have stayed with us because they came to do some temporary work in Jacksonville, and it was otherwise, without PadSplit they couldn't be able to get that opportunity because it was too expensive to rent. So I love PadSplit because I feel like I'm doing something towards someone else. I love the fact that I can walk into my houses at any time. That to me is so important, because that asset, the condition of that asset is so important. And to be able to walk the houses, see that they're being taken care of, that I don't have to paint the house every time a tenant leaves, that I don't have to change the floors because they were so messed up. I love that. I love the numbers too. And even though I'm not as aggressive as other people, I am very happy with the returns that I'm having. And actually, we are currently actively looking for more pad splits. And I do think as generations change, we have gone from the big houses to the small houses. I think a lot of people, they don't need a lot of space to live now, and they don't have to. They have other goals in life, enjoy life. They want to save for trips, as opposed to my generation that we were drilled that we had to have and buy the first house. I see my kids, they want to travel. They want to do so many other things, and they're not worried about that they have to buy the first house and do this and that. So I think that PadSplit is moving in the right direction of where we're going. And spaces too, sometimes those big houses, unless there's a big family, a lot of the space goes unused and it's expensive, and family has other financial goals. So I do see PadSplits growing more. I know it has growing pains like everything else. I went with,
For sure.
With Airbnb, I have gone through all the updates of the software and things that had happened. But I think that if you're adding value to people's life, you will stay in the market. And PadSplit is definitely adding value to the pet mates, to the landlords, to the cities that they are in.
Beautifully
Thank
said.
you for that. Yeah, you said it great. Wow, I'm out of words now.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have 100 questions, but we'll
Go for it.
No.
Yeah.
No, we're going to talk to her like we're friends. So, I mean, I think you gave a lot of value. Out of curiosity, because you're still looking for deals, and if someone has a deal or any business or advertisement that you want to, kind of ask of our viewers, like, what are you looking for if you're looking for anything? What if you have business to offer, like, how can they reach you?
What are you looking for? What if someone could help you? How could someone help you right now? What are you looking for? And if there's anything that you can offer others, what would that be?
I'm always looking for deals.
Always looking for deals.
I'm always looking for my pad splits, for my long terms, for my flips, and my Airbnbs. I'm always looking for deals. I'm looking for private money. I'm looking for private lenders. I've been in this space for more than 15 years, and I'm always looking for lenders because people retire, people go and buy houses with the money they were lending me, or they decide to buy another business or do something. So I'm always looking for private lenders, always looking for deals, and I'm always looking to help other people. I'll give you my handle for Instagram and all my information so they can reach me.
Perfect.
I do answer all my phone calls. I'm happy to help, and I'm looking to keep on being happy and of service in this life. That's the purpose.
Love it. Thank you.
All her information we'll put in the description so that you can reach out to her with some monies so that we can obviously bring you higher returns.
More abundance.
Love it.
Sprinkle her more abundance.
But other than that, we really do appreciate having you. We usually ask people about their motivation, but as you've spoken through, we've heard it, and it was in there, and the different stages of your investment journey. So I don't think I need to ask any further on what motivates you, but we look forward to your growth, and we look forward to all your success and your abundance. So
I know. We can't wait to see you continue to grow and continue to expand and see your adventures and your travel and all of it.
Thank you guys for having me here.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for letting me speak and connect with the world. I'm so very grateful, and I am so happy that you guys are doing this. This is very cool. So proud of you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. It means so much.
How's that for a one take?
Thanks for tuning into the Coliving with PadSplit podcast hosted by Ray and Oriana Nunez. For more exclusive content and community updates, join our Facebook group and follow us on all social media platforms. Stay tuned for more episodes.